Well, hello and welcome to episode number 394 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's pack show, IAG is in trouble with the Competitions Watchdog. The concerns from an Aviation Coalition over 5G wireless networks rumble on, and there's good news for the UK aviation industry from an unlikely source across the English Channel. In the military this week, there's a lot of grey. So joining me this week across the pond. Because I am not in the UK. It is, of course, Matt Smith, who evidently writ the actual intro for the show this week.
Come back to me in a minute.
So, hello everyone. It's me, Carlos here, back again. Yes, I'm in Studio 4 at the Renaissance, not the Renaissance, the Marriott Hotel, I should say, in Atlanta. So, greetings from the US. How are you, Matt?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
How is the States? Is it good?
It's very good.
I assume we're allowed to mention that you're there. Are we allowed to mention
that's
that?
fine.
Oh, right, okay,
yeah,
right, yeah.
So I'm
if
here.
not, too late, yeah.
I know. No, Gemma knows I'm here. That's fine.
Oh, good, right. Oh, you did tell her. Well done.
Yes. So our very good friend of the show, Stephen Ivy, is getting married here tomorrow.
Aww.
And he's very kindly asked me to come out and DJ at his wedding. So I am...
It's just the
DJing at his wedding tomorrow night.
Just the most bonkers thing in the world, really. That is just so crazy.
And the great thing is, Matt, is that not only is he supplied with this fantastic hotel room, which I have to say is about 16,000 times the size of a Premier Inn suite.
Right.
He's also given me beers in the room.
Oh dear, I knew you'd be happy.
And I'm drinking this bourbon barrel ale at 8.4%. So we better move on.
Oh.
But no, seriously though, it's lovely to be here. And I'm going to have to say this at the top of the show, Nev, your friends at BA were absolutely exemplary yesterday on the flight over.
Obviously, the special word I put in for you was effective, and it worked. So
I'm surprised. I thought it would usually have an effect the other way, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have said that. They have been denied boarding in the past. But
Absolutely.
No, I think we managed to press a few buttons and got you a nice seat.
A nice cheeky upgrade.
Yes. I managed to move from the economy cabin into the slightly more luxurious premium cabin yesterday when I left Heathrow. So a massive thanks to all the guys on BA Flight 227 yesterday out of Heathrow, because they were fantastic. And honestly, the PAs from the flight deck, Nev, bang on.
Yes.
And although I will say it was only the FO who was giving the PAs, not
Well, it's probably
the
his
captain.
sector, you see. It's the people, the person that's doing the flying or whose sector it is tends to do the PA usually. But no, they're particularly good at that, aren't they? I did record a couple this week for a future episode to demonstrate what a proper flight deck PA.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Interesting. Like it.
Yeah. Stephen was asking me last night about his speech that he's got to do tomorrow at the wedding, and the only advice that I could give him was, don't worry about the speech, Stephen. Just do it like you're on the flight deck, giving your PA to the passengers.
Okay, right, fair enough. I don't know what to do with that information. That sounds...
It'll work.
Right,
It'll work.
Okay, well, as long as you know what you're doing, I suppose that's the main thing. Right.
So anyway, Nev, how are things with you, Nev?
Yes, very good. Another hectic week, a bit of flying this week up to Edinburgh and back on Tuesday and Wednesday. Still have to have words with the ground handling agents in Edinburgh who've still forgotten how to board an aircraft. But never mind, they'll get the hang of it one of these days.
I mean, they had quite a while where they didn't. Perhaps that's...
Yes, perhaps they're out of practice.
Yeah.
But, I would have thought it's reasonably straightforward, but it was a bit too much for them, apparently.
Right. Did they use in-house agency agents then rather than their own?
No, they use contract agents.
Right. Okay.
Agent. But it was just chaos because the London City flight, which was boarding from Gate 9, their PA was spilling over into the Gate 10 area. So you can imagine that people were being boarded, although they were being boarded on the correct aircraft, but at the wrong time.
Very confusing, I should imagine, for everyone involved. Yeah.
But no, it was fine, and excellent service from the fabulous airline, as always. So that was good. And that's kind of it for me, really. Because of the old COVID business, nobody wants to see me next week, I don't think. I don't want my
Is there something going on, Nev?
I don't know. But so Eddie, all of my meetings next week are on Teams or Zoom. So that's about it, really.
I thought we got away from all that.
No, we just it's still cropping up from time to time. But,
one of the strangest things actually yesterday, Nev, going back to Heathrow, was that we're on the Dash 9 Dreamliner from gate A10. It was no air bridge. It was a bus to the remote stand that the aircraft was on and up steps.
Oh, that's very subpar.
Which does kind of negate the whole business of let's board the aircraft carefully and by seat row number.
Yeah, throw everyone on a bus, take them to a set of stairs.
I've just never had that before.
In stark contrast to other experiences I've had, at least I noticed that there was like a canopy over the stairs in case it was raining. That's something I've not seen before. Because mind you, I've only ever done like EasyJet or Ryanair, and I think with the Ryanair, the stairs actually come out of the side of the aircraft, don't they, for you to climb up? So certainly no room for a canopy on those. But
actually, just a weekly roundup, bit of news before we move on.
Go on.
I actually saw online this afternoon, it popped up my news feed, that EasyJet are going to be moving back to Southend.
Southend? Oh, are they?
In the new year. Yeah.
Well, that'd be good news for Southend, absolutely, won't it? Yeah, because I think they lost some routes from Ryanair, I think, because they did have some there, didn't they? And that I think they lost.
Yeah, they pulled out just before, just as the pandemic started, or just after they pulled out of Southend. But yeah, they're going back next year. So
very good, very good.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. All the usual family members in there this evening. We've got Richard Adams, GB's Model Zone, Alex Robinson, hello to you, Lee Davies, and Neville Bounce is in there wielding the blue spanner of doom. Mazouz, hello to you, Mazouz. Cheryl, lovely to see you back in there, Cheryl, this week. The lovely Jenny in Rome, hello to you as well. Alan White. David Corsten, hello to you, David. He's obviously
blimey, that's a name I haven't seen in a while.
In Spain. And Myla, hello to you, the lovely Myla as well. Hope you're well. Tony S, hello to you, Tony. And there we go. Richard Adams. I missed anyone else? I don't think I've missed anyone. Have I missed anyone? No, I think I've got everyone. And thank you to everyone.
I can tell you're not in your usual habitat.
I know. That's because I'm used to having 3 screens.
Right.
I'm
dear, you're slumming it with just the one today, are you?
No, I've got 2 because I've got a tablet.
Oh, here we go. Right.
Don't forget, if you are listening to the show as an audio podcast, don't forget to take yourselves over to YouTube. Just look for us on there, Plain Talking UK. You'll find us on there with the video show. You can click on the subscribe button, which would be awesome, and also you can click on that bell icon, that all important bell icon, which is right next door, to be notified when Matt hits that live button and we are recording a live show, because we'd love to have you in the chat room. So yes, we definitely would love to have you in the chat room, because our chat room is what makes the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's mainly because they know what they're talking about and we don't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Indeed.
So we've got loads of news to get through this week, so if all the team's ready,
yes,
let's go.
Well, starting off on flightglobal.com, the headline is IAG competition remedies for Air Europa acquisition were inadequate. Proposed remedies from IAG to address competition concerns over its acquisition of Spanish carrier Air Europa did not satisfy the European Commission, the regulator has disclosed. IAG and Air Europa have agreed to end the acquisition proposal in its current form with a view to looking at an alternative structure. The Commission had previously expressed doubts over the competition impact on several routes, given that IAG already owns Spanish carriers Iberia and Vueling. Discussions with the companies and the proposed remedy packages were not able to adequately address the competition concerns identified, it states. Scrutiny of the merger was being undertaken not only by the Commission but by the UK's market regulator. IAG and Air Europa are leading airlines in Spain with their hubs in Madrid, from where they operate a network of domestic and international flights, says European Competition Commissioner Margarita Vestager. In-depth analysis out during the investigation indicated that the merger would have negatively affected competition on some domestic short-haul and long-haul routes within, to and from Spain. She adds that the Commission's assessment accounted for the effect of pandemic-related restrictions on air travel. IAG offered remedies, but taking into account the results of the market test, the remedies submitted did not fully address our competition concerns, she said, adding that the competition needs to be preserved for the recovery of air transport. Now, this is all very well, but of course we're not in normal times at the moment with regard to flying. I don't know if anyone's noticed that at all. So I think
it did come up in conversation, I think.
Yeah, I think they're not quite comparing like with like. I think if you were doing, competitions and mergers under normal, commercial situations, you may have come up with a slightly different argument, possibly.
And of course, actually, weirdly, as a sort of bit of an outsider looking in, Nev, I mean, that was kind of my take on this particular story. Was he's thinking, yes, absolutely, if everything was all normal and all that kind of thing, but you think this is all. I feel this is almost like condemning this particular airline to now collapse.
Yes, and load factors are all over the shop at the moment because you've got a situation coming up where you've got the French government not allowing Brits into the country as of, I think, tomorrow, unless you've got a very good reason for doing so. And you've got all sorts of weird load factors going on around Europe where some flights are oversubscribed because the airlines have had to put fewer flights on because they don't have the crew at the moment, and some people are only just coming back from furlough in some cases. I was talking to some BA airline crew this week actually, and they were saying that some of their colleagues are only just coming back from not flying at all.
So really, after almost 2 years, essentially.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a difficult time to say the least. So this is going to play out, later on, I'm sure. But the European Commission are not known for being in a rush with these things.
No, and I guess that could work in to their advantage, I suppose, perhaps because we could have a different set of circumstances, of course, by the time we get the final decision and things like that. But I just think it's an odd call to make right now, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you think this French thing is going to make a big difference to things at the minute? No.
Well, it messes up the skiing season, certainly. That's quite a big problem. From what I've been hearing, a lot of people go out to the French Alps for the skiing season, and that represents a large piece of revenue for not just the operators of that, but the cleaners, the hotel folks, the whole hospitality industry that goes with skiing, because it's not just about skiing, is it? It's about eating and drinking and having a good time. So yeah, that's the big thing that's going to be affected. So I'm hoping that this is just going to be a short-term blip, but of course, as we know with this virus, you never quite know what's going to happen next.
No, and of course, I mean, that's the thing here. I mean, officially nothing has changed in terms of being able to go out and socialising and all that kind of thing in the UK, for example. The hospitality industry is already an industry that's on its knees here already. And although, as I say, we don't officially have a lockdown here in the UK, everybody, has received advice essentially to minimise, contact and all that kind of thing. And then immediately what happens is there is this knock-on effect, isn't it? So people are suddenly not booking the flights that they were booking before, or they're cancelling them because they're nervous about travelling again and all that kind of thing, as you say. And it's like, so using the ski thing as an analogy again, it's that same thing, isn't it? The industry, it's not just the flight that's getting there, it's not just the hotels, is it? It's everything else that goes with it.
I'll tell you what.
Funny you should say that, because I was just thinking that I had a phone call yesterday from the hotel that Mrs. Nev and I are staying in Belfast over Christmas, and I'm thinking, oh no, don't tell me they're cancelling it. And she said, no, quite the opposite. We have got a lot more people coming now because people can't mix in their homes so much, but obviously being in a hotel environment for food and stuff like that, it's a bit better. So they're actually saying, are you still definitely coming? Because we're absolutely full. So that was a good thing.
Oh, how
but
exciting.
That's not the norm, I don't think, at all. And I think that the most things that are going to be happening are cancellations and postponements of hospitality, dinner and accommodation generally. Sorry, Carlos, I talked over you.
No, all I was going to say, Nev, was that you've flown from Heathrow a lot more times than what I have in the past. But I've flown a number of times. But I tell you what, yesterday was an eye-opener for me, because it was busy. Don't get me wrong, Heathrow was busy, Terminal 5. But
not like it is normally.
Nowhere near as busy as it normally is. Yeah. And compared to Stansted, when I flew out to Malta in September, I went to Malta in September from Stansted. Compared to that, the security going through at Heathrow yesterday, I was in the queue and out in less than 5 minutes. A security.
Wow. Okay. In stark contrast to your experience at Stansted, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Did you have fast track or anything like that?
Well, I was saying to Nev actually on the phone that morning. The fast track lane was closed, and when you went on the Heathrow website, it says on there that the fast track's been closed due to COVID-19.
Weird.
Okay, that's not what I expected you to say. Anyway, we could go on and on and on about this. We probably should move on. So we'll take.
Obviously, the COVID only goes through the fast track area, not the.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. That makes sense. And on that bombshell, we'll move on to the next story. This is on the Airbus.com. Website, while Carlos basically fiddles with his aircon, it looks like, and has done for the last 10 minutes or something. No,
I've got you on the big screen up above me.
Oh dear. Oh, have you? Oh, okay. He's changing the channel. He doesn't like it. That's what it is. Look, he's changing the channel. Look, there you go. Anyway, Singapore Airlines selects the world's newest freighter, the A350F. Singapore Airlines, SIA, has signed a letter of intent. It's put in brackets, lol. Nice. With Airbus for 7 A350F freighter aircraft. The agreement will see the A350F begin replacing the airline's existing Boeing 747-400F fleet in the fourth quarter of 2025. We are honoured by Singapore Airlines' vote of confidence in the A350F as it renews its freighter fleet. The A350F is the world's all-new large freighter and will be unmatched in its market segment in terms of operational efficiency, lower fuel consumption and CO2 savings, said Christian Shearer, Airbus Chief Commercial Officer and Head of Airbus International. It's gratifying that Singapore Airlines recognises the value of the A350F as we build on the strong partnership we already enjoy. Earlier this year, Airbus received a board of directors approval for a freighter derivative of the A350 designed to meet the imminent wave of large freighter requirements and the evolving environmental requirements shaping the future of air freight. The A350F will be powered by the latest technology, fuel-efficient Rolls-Royce Trent XWB-97 engines. As part of the world's most modern long-range family, the A350F will have a high level of commonality with the A350 passenger versions. With a 109-ton payload capability, the A350F will serve all cargo markets. The aircraft features a large main deck cargo door with its fuselage length and capacity optimised around the industry's standard pallets and containers. Over 70% of the airframe will be made of advanced materials, resulting in a 30-tonne lighter takeoff weight and generating at least 20% lower fuel consumption and emissions over its current closest competitor. The A350F will fully meet ICAO's enhanced CO2 emission standards coming into effect in 2027. Singapore Airlines is the world's largest operator of the A350, with 56 aircraft currently in service across its network. The agreement with Singapore Airlines is the third commitment received for the new A350F over the past month. Now, this got me thinking, of course, because, it is our beloved, it is the Queen of the Skies, isn't it, that is usually the freighter of choice here. And so, I mean, what would be the modern day equivalent? So obviously the A350F is like the Airbus thing. So what would Boeing's modern day equivalent be of the 74?
I think Boeing's most popular freighter, I think Nev, you'll agree, has been the 777 freighter.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is obviously a direct competitor to the 350.
Right.
But I'm fairly sure the 777F holds a little bit more weight than the 350.
Right. Okay.
And it's obviously sold a hell of a lot as well. Do I think the 350 will outsell the 777 freighter? I don't think that. I think Airbus are a little bit late to the game, don't you think, Nev?
Yes, but of course the fuel efficiency probably with those Trent XWB 97 engines might be slightly better. So from a payload point of view and a miles per gallon point of view, it might be slightly better. But yeah, of course, this is Airbus's first real venture into this kind of freighting business since the A300. I would say, and then obviously there was 330 they're looking at as well. But obviously the A300 was a very, very popular freighter.
But I mean, they did have a go, didn't they? Because we did have the A380F, didn't we? But it just never really took off. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Did it never actually materialise into anything? That's what John's saying.
They carried freight. The 380. They actually did carry freight on the 380 during.
Well, I think every single aircraft at some point as with straps on seats and things like that. I mean, they were using whatever they could lay their hands on in terms of freight because everybody was ordering stuff at home all of a sudden. But yeah, I must admit, I thought the A380F was already a thing. If you see what I mean, I didn't realise it had. It
would be an interesting freighter if it was. That's for sure.
I mean, the capacity would be insane, surely.
I think that the biggest issue though that would probably stop it is the fact that the 747 freighter has that ability to lift the front nose up,
right?
To load freight in through the nose.
Okay.
Where I think with the 380 that might
not be something that can be done.
Slight issue.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see Boeing respond to something like the 787 maybe, John is asking?
I think that what they'll do, Boeing, I think what they'll do is that they'll continue with the success they've had with the 777 freighter. And with the 777, the 777X is obviously now coming online. They'll do a freighter version of that, which I think they've already got a test. Yeah, they're testing a 777X freighter. And then as soon as that's certified and et cetera, that'll become the new big selling freighter, as far as I'm concerned. I think it will, definitely.
Okay.
But don't get me wrong, Airbus will sell some 350Fs. They will.
But you don't think they'll become the market? You don't think they'll be the market leader like the 74 has, hasn't it? I mean, that's been an unrivaled freighter, Indeed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. John's saying a lot of the people have the 7.6 and the 7.5s already, so it sort of makes sense. Which is kind of where I was going with the Singapore thing, because most of the ones that they have, of course, with the Singapore were the 7.4. So for me, I find it interesting that they've sort of not abandoned Boeing, but they've chosen the Airbus product over the 777 equivalent, perhaps. Is it one of those? If the 787 freighter version was available, perhaps they would have gone down that route instead. Who knows?
I think it would be all based on fuel economy.
Right, so not interested in the A380F then for fuel economy, perhaps.
Not with 4 engines, no.
Okay,
4 engines
where's
over
the fun
2.
in that? Yeah. Well, never mind. Okay, yes. Let's talk about the 380
Actually,
then,
just
shall
before we move on, before we move, just quickly.
Honestly, I'm trying to do a really clever segue there, and you just stomp all over it.
what they should do is just have a beluga. Just bring out loads of belugas.
Right.
The large cargo carrying one that Airbus uses to carry large parts, or there we go, purpose-built cargo plane, straight away.
Yeah. John's saying they carry a lot of volume, but don't know if they carry much weight. Perhaps, I don't know. Somebody go away and Google it.
Anyway, let's go.
We'll have some answers in a minute.
Let's stick with Airbus with the next story.
Yeah. There's no use trying to rescue the segue now, Carlos. It's ruined.
This is coming to us from express.co.uk, and Airbus delivers the last ever A380 superjumbo.
Super sad.
So the last Airbus A380 has emerged from the manufacturer's final assembly line in Toulouse, as the penultimate unit of the type ever to be built was caught on camera during a rejected takeoff test on Tuesday morning. The last of the giant of the skies can be glimpsed in the background, and the aircraft is destined for Emirates, as we all guessed anyway. Just like all but 3 of the A380s to be built after Airbus announced the end of the program 2 years ago. Tail fin and engine cowlings are already adorned with the Gulf carrier's livery, while the main fuselage remains industrially chic. It has been given the test registration Foxtrot Whiskey Alpha Mike, and was built in July last year. Speaking to express.co.uk, an aviation expert said he was heartbroken as an aviation fan. However, the other aviation admirers may have mixed feelings, said Dan from Nonstop Dan, a YouTube vlog that creates content on aviation and airlines. Speaking of his admiration for the aircraft, Dan said the A380 is unparalleled in terms of its onboard comfort, not only from a passenger experience, I think the crews might have something to say about that, but it's just the pinnacle of aviation. He continued, it's a big and as cool as anything it can get, so it's seeing the end of its era and a move towards smaller planes, and it's sad to see. It shows the industry is not focusing on the glitz and glamour and is just now about efficiency. However, he did mention the positives of the move. Considering the impact on the environment, he said, we need more fuel-efficient aircraft than ever before, and we can't just be doing stuff because it's impressive or prestige. We need to think what's best for the planet. Speaking of the fate of the aircraft, Dan said it's the nail in the coffin for an aircraft that really symbolises a very different time in the industry. Airbus announced that it would cease production of the giant of the skies 2 years ago in February 2019. Oh, funny, that date, that all remembers that date, in February 2019. That's when things were normal. This followed a deal with its largest customer, Emirates, who agreed to swap orders for 39 of the A380s for A330-900s and A350-900s. That left Airbus with 17 outstanding orders for the 2-story jet, 14 for Emirates and 3 for All Nippon Airways, or ANA. And there's some images as well from Twitter from at Digro65. So thanks for them. And there's also obviously the video. You played the video, didn't you, Matt?
No, I couldn't lift it for some. I've got a few technical issues in the studio at the moment.
There is a video, and obviously, as always, Matt will add that in with the show notes if you want to find that one on there to watch. But yeah, it's going to be a case of, I think, if you want to go on a 380, you're either going to have to fly with Emirates or BA, pretty much. Or Qantas.
Because BA did put those back in service, didn't they?
Yeah, there was one at Heathrow yesterday, moving around.
Yeah, apparently Singapore are bringing theirs back as well. It's so there is still a few opportunities, but I don't think we're quite at the sort of what I call the last ditch attempts, like with the old 747, wasn't it, where everybody was desperate to sort of. Okay, everything's all just gone wrong in the studio here. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
I'll stop
Don't
talking.
I'm surprised. What do you think, Nev? That I mean, obviously the reason's probably due to the fact it's got 4 engines, but there's never really been that second-hand market for the 380, has there?
No, and we've said before, haven't we, that, it was very unfortunate that the aircraft came in at the wrong time. Now, of course, you can't, as with all things in aviation, from the moment you start to design an aircraft to the time you deliver the first one, decades pass very often. If you think about Concorde, which was designed in the late 50s, early 60s, and the first time it came into service was 1976. So, you know, I mean, obviously aircraft these days come into service quicker than that. But I think trying to forecast what's going to happen, especially with fuel costs and this kind of thing. And let's face it, the efficiency that they have managed to get out of 2-engine long-haul aircraft is extraordinary. I mean, the fuel burn is just so much less than it has been previously. So, I think the second-hand market is going to be tricky for this, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no low cost carriers who want to jump into the market of just flying A380s, unfortunately.
No.
I mean, it's not very popular with crew. I find as well, from what I've understand. I understand it's not very popular with the crew. Although I think in the main, the passenger experience is a very positive one, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, I found it really comfortable. To be fair, even in economy.
Even in economy. Oh, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
So, Nev, next story is with you, and we're moving back to the good old 5G story again.
Oh, yes, there's trouble brewing here, and it's been going on for a while, actually.
There may be trouble ahead.
Yes. This is on the flightglobal.com website, and it says that a broad coalition of aviation groups is warning of widespread flight disruptions, including cancellations, due to pending implementation by wireless companies of so-called 5G cellular systems. Citing a recent Federal Aviation Administration order, the new Aviation 5G Coalition says that disruptions could affect flights in major metropolitan areas nationwide, including in California, Florida and New York. The flying public should anticipate delayed and cancelled passenger flights, delayed air cargo shipments, significant schedule disruptions and inability for first responders, military and law enforcement people to fly missions. The coalition is urging US regulators to work with the White House to find a solution that ensures 5G does not impact aviation. Well, the move comes 3 weeks before the cellular industry is scheduled to activate its C-band 5G system. The FAA's 7th of December order will prohibit many flight operations due to the risk of interference with radio altimeters. Whilst some AT&T and Verizon customers will gain service in many regions, the trade-off is that millions of people travelling by plane in the United States will be impacted with flight cancellations and delays in an already strained system, the Aviation 5G Coalition says on the 14th of December. Time is running out before millions of air travellers and the shipping public experience significant disruptions. Wireless companies, starting with AT&T, intend to begin 5G transmissions on the 5th of January next year. Areas where 5G transmissions are approved include Southern and Northern California, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Florida, Las Vegas, Minneapolis, New England, New York City, Phoenix, Portland, Salt Lake City and Seattle, according to the coalition. And the group implores that the US FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, the FAA and White House and National Economic Council to identify and reach a successful implementation plan that will ensure 5G technologies can safely coexist with the aviation industry. The coalition accuses AT&T and another wireless provider, for Verizon of unwillingness to implement safety mitigations. Neither ATT nor Verizon were available for comment. Now, just for a bit of background on some of the things that they've been talking about here, going back to a IATA report back in November 2020, one of the problems is unreliable readings from radio altimeters, is what they were talking about, operating in the 4.2 to 4.4 gigahertz bandwidth, and also list of potential equipment failures relating to this are auto-land functions in Cat 2 or Cat 3 operations, ICAS and ICAM, nuisance warnings after takeoff during approach which will distract crew from their tasks at hand, false or missing GPWS alerts, unreliable instrument indications, and abnormal behaviours in automatic flight systems, amongst some of them. Now, this has been going on for some time, and this is because that the frequency that 5G uses is fairly close to some of the frequencies that are used for the radio altimeter, which is where the transmitter is sent into the ground and then received back to give an accurate height position of the aircraft. So you would have thought that they would have sorted this out before now, wouldn't you? Because it's a critical phase of flight, landing. Now, obviously, if it's only in auto land conditions, it is not too bad, because obviously auto land is not used that often, although they do have to use it to validate the crew and the aircraft, of course. But yeah, this is something which is going to be a problem, and they need to get this resolved fairly sharpish now.
So forgive my naivety here, Nev, but I mean, are we not having this same potential issue as well? Because I mean, 5G has launched here in the UK. I mean, if I go to Norwich, I get a full 5G service.
Yes, the conversation appears to only be happening in the USA and Canada for some reason.
That was my understanding of the article, which is why it was when I was putting the notes together this week. I found that rather fascinating, is the fact that so whatever frequencies it is that we use here for our 5G, they're either far enough away, or is it something? This is terribly naive of me, and I apologise. Is it that somebody didn't quite think about it enough?
Well, I'm not sure. And I think that you've got to remember that these radio altimeters on aircraft are quite low power, actually, because they only have to operate from 2,500 feet downwards, and then obviously the signals bounce back up into the receiver, which you can see on the transmitter and receivers. You can see on the outside or the underside of the aircraft. So yes, obviously any interference of that signal, whether it's sort of sideband kind of stuff, which you can get, or harmonics or this sort of stuff, and because obviously the 5G signal is quite powerful. Now, I've not seen anything within EASA or the UK CAA about this, but I wonder if our friend Mr. Spink or some other people might be able to tell us about that. If we
So Jan Huber is saying that the US is essentially using different 5G frequencies to the ones that we're using here, and I suppose that does kind of make sense, that each country does sort of set its own boundaries and stuff, which I think is quite interesting. He's saying also, Micah is saying that apparently it was also discussed immediately upon the sale of the spectrum, but nobody did anything about it, which is his point on that. And I guess, because I mean, I seem to remember here in the UK, the nearest we got to something similar was when they first launched the 4G network here in the UK. There was a clash, wasn't there, with people who had the frequency that most video recorders used when they first launched it back in the day. So like skyboxes and video recorders, where back in the days, you know, when we used to connect our devices via a coaxial cable into the back of the TV. Do you remember those days? And when they first launched 4G, you had to retune your video recorder in order for you to be able to not get or to minimise the amount of interference and stuff that you were getting via your TV
we go back
area.
To the good old analog days. If you an unbalanced mic cable, you would pick up Radio 4.
That's true.
Or the taxis outside. Do you remember that?
Yes, indeed. Yes, absolutely. Yes, many a disco I've done, and I've picked up the occasional long wave frequency from. I think the best one I think was I picked up Test Match Special. Once via and the only reason I could tell it was Test Match Special is because ironically I was listening to it on another radio, and I genuinely thought it was bleeding through the headphones that I was wearing until I turned off the radio, and I thought, hang on a minute, it's still there.
Actually, Jan Hubner just reminds me. Actually, he says that 4G LTE also used to interfere with radio mics as well, and because of that 4G sell-off, I remember, because I was working for an integrator at the time that used to sell a lot of radio microphones, it was affecting the whole of the theatre industry.
Oh wow! Yes, of course.
They had to buy a whole load of new stuff with the new frequencies, and that's just not radio microphones, it's in-ear monitoring, it's any radio pack as well, so it's a heck of a lot of expense to do all that when governments do sell off these frequencies, which of course will be extremely lucrative, I would imagine.
Lee Davis says don't mention the Test Match. Yes, good point, sorry about that.
Let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. That's a slightly embarrassing subject at the moment anyway, unless you're Australian, in which case woohoo.
And staying with Australia, Matt, you've got the next story.
Have I?
In the land of Stephen Grant.
Quite. No, politics or ashes, Tony S. says. Those are the rules. Yes, thank you, Tony. Much appreciated. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, we are... in the land of Australia at the moment. I think I'm on the wrong story. Something's gone terribly wrong with my computer. Just bear with me. Story 5 I'm being told in my ear. Thank you. I somehow ended up in the military. I don't know what happened there. Never mind. We'll give it.
Great stuff.
We can go straight to that. Anyway, Qantas to operate London flights with sustainable aviation fuel. Now I know we did a story similar to this a while back, but it does look like it may actually now be happening, which is kind of exciting. Flightglobal.com is the website for this particular story. Qantas has signed a purchase agreement with fuel giant BP. What on earth was that? Okay, oh, right. Okay. That was... Sorry. Okay, yes.
Wasn't that baguette you had on the flight back?
There was a terrible noise on our talkback system there that was... We're being assured was John moving his laptop. That's what we're being told. I mean, if it wasn't, that was quite award-winning. Anyway, Qantas has signed a purchase agreement with fuel giant BP for 10 million litres of blended sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, which it will use on flights between Australia and London. Carlos has had to mute himself. He's still laughing. Between Australia and London in the new year. The One World... I'll just carry on my own, shall I? Right, fine. The One World carrier also holds an option to purchase up to another 10 million litres of blended SAF for 2023 and 2024, making up around 15% of its annual fuel use out of London. The move comes nearly a year after Qantas signed a partnership with BP to explore carbon emission reductions and SAF development, with the aim of becoming net carbon neutral by 2050. The use of blended SAF will cut emissions for the London flights, also known as the Kangaroo route, by around 10%, says Qantas, which will release its interim target for net zero emissions in the new year. The carrier states that it will be the first Australian carrier to use SAF on an ongoing basis for regular scheduled operations. It adds that it is in discussions with other overseas airports such as Los Angeles to access SAF. These volume agreements are crucial to bringing the cost of SAF down, which will be several times more expensive than traditional jet kerosene, says Qantas. Qantas Group Chief Sustainability Officer Andrew Parker says aviation biofuels typically deliver around an 80% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions on a life cycle basis compared to the jet fuel it is replacing, and it is the most significant tool airlines have to reduce their impact on the environment. He adds, given the importance of aviation to Australia and the distances we travel, there is a huge opportunity to build a local SAF industry here. Qantas and its low-cost unit Jetstar have previously operated a series of SAF-powered demonstration flights, including one across the Pacific Ocean with biofuels derived from mustard seeds. Wow. I mean, that's a really interesting story, and I know it's. I know it was a while ago that we initially talked about this product, but it's really gaining momentum here, isn't it? And even if it's only one route that they do this with initially, I mean, that's got to be good news, isn't it? It's a good route to have it on. I'm being told, because you can pass the price on to the customers essentially here, which I guess kind of makes sense. And of course, whatever happens, it's a premium route. Of course, the costs are going to be passed on to the customer. I get that, but will people
bear in mind though that it is a blend though? It's not a complete.
Oh no, I appreciate that.
Complete.
But no, indeed. Do you think, just out of interest though, do you think customers will be, perhaps their concerns over the environment and things would be enough for these people to be willing to pay a bit more for their flight if it means that flight is using 25, what was it 15%, 15% coming out of London of the biofuel? Do you think people would be willing to do it? I suppose, John is saying how many people would actually know, which is again another
I think
point. When
they get to the stage where they can do a kind of half and half, we might be sort of getting to be able to get excited about this, but
it's definitely a step in the right direction, however you dress it up, isn't it?
Actually, Richard Adams has made a good point in the chat room, a bit like our new E10 petrol here, 10% bio instead of 5%, but costs a lot more, and MPG much lower, and more tax for the government, though. He's absolutely correct in that, and I will say that I think, I don't know if I said to you, Matt, Gemma's had immense issues with using E10 in her car, and it's a 2013 model as well. And they initially said it would be 2010 cars that would be affected, but that E10 stuff is definitely. In
fact, you've had to change to the super unleaded, the super unleaded, haven't you, to do it? Well. Yeah, I don't know. I see this as a step in the right direction. I appreciate we've got a long way to go. It is a step in the right direction. Yeah.
But
I still see it as a very positive step. Because the aviation industry is one that is accused of being, you've only got to open the can of worms that is the chemtrail debate to, sort of, upset loads of people. Micah's making a good point in the chat room, as he usually does. He says you end up burning more of it, creating more pollution to go the same distance. I suppose that's true. Yeah.
Well, it's like we say, though, there's a long way to go as yet until we, completely go green.
Yeah, he sort of also says it's sort of gaining momentum as a feel-good story, but it's not doing anything in terms of environmental impact. I guess that is true as well, but I don't know. I guess I'm trying to look at it from a glass half full perspective. Any step in that direction, I can't help but feel that's got to be a good thing. And if you get a company like Qantas, would we be more excited if it was, say, someone like Emirates perhaps going down that route? Perhaps, I don't know.
Definitely with all the amount of 380s.
Well, this is it. This is the thing. Perhaps that's what we're waiting for. Perhaps is. But I think Qantas are a big airline. I think this is an important step. Personally speaking for myself.
So moving on to story number 6, which is coming to us from UKAviation.news. And bad news, unfortunately, for Boeing, because Airbus have beaten Boeing to Air France KLM orders. So in a major blow for Boeing, Air France KLM has placed an order for 100 narrow-body aircraft with rival Airbus. The order for Airbus A320neos and A321neos is part of the fleet replacement plans for medium-haul aircraft at KLM and Transavia, both traditionally Boeing airlines. Air France has also has the rights to purchase 4 Airbus A350-Fs, which we were talking about earlier, as part of the deal, and 60 additional narrow-body aircraft. This deal caps a week of wins for Airbus with Singapore Airlines, A350-Fs, and Australian carrier Qantas with A320neos and A220s, both choosing Airbus over Boeing. Christian Schreier, Airbus Chief Commercial Officer and Head of Airbus International, said, "We are honoured with Airbus, Air France, KLM's group's foresight after an in-depth evaluation to acquire the latest generation A320neo aircraft family and the A350-Fs to modernise its European medium, short-haul and cargo fleets. This milestone, he said, decision shows again that the aircraft values lies primarily in performance, reliability, fuel efficiency and reduced CO2 emissions, all criteria in which Airbus product line excels at. He says, we are very proud to be awarded this decision and to be part of the future of these iconic airlines, Air France, KLM and Transavia. The deal is great news for UK industry, with many other components for Airbus aircraft made in the UK, including the wings at Airbus's site at Broughton, North Wales, and initial deliveries to Air France and KLM are expected to commence in 2023.
That is quite a win, I've got to say, because the fleet that Transavia have and KLM, obviously in the Boeing department, is substantial.
Yeah.
So if they're starting off with 100, that won't be the end of it, will it?
No. I mean, that's a big number to start with as well, isn't it? 100. I mean, you know, a lot of people, I mean, you think like the story we ran earlier with the freighters and stuff where they're getting excited about sort of taking on 5. You know, I mean, this is an exciting step in the right direction.
Transavia used to fly over us, Matt.
Yeah.
On the way into Norwich.
I'll take your word for it.
With the 737-700.
You make it sound like I'm outside with my Flight Radar 24 app on all the time.
They used to actually come right over us, Matt. At
right.
About,
okay.
About 3,500 feet.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. No, I believe you. I believe you. It's I mean, it's great news, isn't it, for the UK aviation industry as well, isn't it? That's what's for me so exciting about this particular story.
Yes. Brilliant stuff.
Indeed. Okay.
And there's certainly a few quid's worth there, that's for sure.
A couple of quid here and there, yes.
With that order, yeah.
Indeed.
Nev, we're moving over to your favourite airport.
Yes, well, somebody's been pressing the plus button on the calculator over at Heathrow, because on cityam.com it says that the UK CAA has written to Heathrow confirming the £30.19 interim price cap the airport can charge its airline customers will take effect from the 1st of January. According to the CAA, the charge will be £29.50 in 2020 prices, going up to £30.19, which is a 50% increase compared with the current £19.60 because of the surge in inflation rates. The authority stated to have introduced the interim cap to protect customers, given that the new measures for the next 5 years won't be made, and they take effect in summer. Commenting on the news, George Giorgio, who's a lecturer in aviation at Buckinghamshire New University, just down the road from me in High Wycombe here, he says such an increase cannot be justified because of Heathrow's monopoly in the market. If anything, additional financial support for the whole industry, including airports, should be linked to emergency government measures that have a dampening effect on demand instead of placing an additional financial burden on the passenger. The CA's decision received negative feedback from Heathrow, as a spokesperson said the hub was extremely disappointed by the figure. There are material and basic errors in many aspects of the CAA's assessment, they told PA News agency. Uncorrected, this risks leaving Heathrow without sufficient cash flow to support investment in improving passenger service and resilience. Heathrow was not the only one to condemn the CA's decision. The chief executive of BA's owner IAG said, "We're disappointed that Heathrow's charges will increase further. The UK's economic recovery depends on its ability to compete on the global stage. Cost-efficient Heathrow would benefit UK customers, businesses and trade. Global Britain needs a global and competitive hub." Well, according to Virgin Atlantic's boss Shay Weiss, the CA's decision defies belief and fails to protect consumers. The CAA has failed in its duty to protect the British consumer, he said. Together with industry partners, we will now consider options to appeal to the CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority, so that passengers are protected from these egregious proposals and ensure that the CAA fulfills its duties. The CAA has a statutory responsibility to protect consumers, and if it thinks that a 50% increase in passenger charges at the world's most expensive airport is the way to do this, then something has gone very wrong, added Tim Alderslade, who's Airlines UK chief executive. Heathrow is behaving as if it's the only company to be adversely hit by COVID. Well, the airport had previously called for the new prices to be between £32 and £43, prompting major carriers such as BA and Virgin Atlantic to condemn the request. IAG recently threatened to cut flights at the airport if fees didn't go down. Speaking at the Airlines 2021 conference in Westminster on the 22nd of November, IAG's chief executive Luis Galago said the reality is that more than 40% of the people who use Heathrow are connecting passengers. They are simply passing through on their way to other destinations and could easily go by other more competitive hubs. It says that hiking charges will not help. It will not attract demand. In fact, it will have the opposite effect. Well, I'm on the fence with this one because
really, okay.
Think about what's happened in the pandemic in terms of the revenue loss at major airports. It has been absolutely horrific, and bearing in mind somewhere like Heathrow and the other big airports, Frankfurt and Schiphol as well, Heathrow probably is responsible for employing about 25,000 people within the area of Hounslow and Middlesex, some of Buckinghamshire as well. So it's massive, and the costs associated with it are huge as well. Having said that, I know of a lot of people that choose not to go through Heathrow because it's a lot cheaper to go through Schiphol in Amsterdam or Frankfurt or Charles de Gaulle in Paris. So they've got to be a bit careful there if they start hiking up fees too much, because then they will lose large chunks of traffic then, because people will go, actually the flight's £300 less to connect through Amsterdam, so I'll fly, rather than drive down to Heathrow from Norwich, I'll fly across on the KLM to Amsterdam when they're still running it, and then get a cheaper flight for my US trip or Asia Pacific trip.
And they are very much still running that from Norwich, actually, and a lot of the ongoing flights that make the bit from Norwich actually surprisingly affordable, because you're picking up the savings and stuff going on. And of course, again, there's a strong argument. See, I'm a little bit the other side on this one, Nev, actually, because I'm feeling like this is absolutely not what they should be doing in these current times. As you say, what you want to be doing is, at the end of the day, the thing that is generating people's jobs and protecting people's jobs is not these price hikes. They I feel are doing damage to the industry. What's keeping people in work is having that footfall of traffic going through the airport. And if you can pick up a few people who are choosing to connect with going via Heathrow rather than Schiphol, then I see that, and certainly in terms of departures, and the departure lounge, obviously, which is, let's be honest, where they make most of their money now, because there's almost, weirdly, isn't there, there's almost nothing now this side, like in the actual, when you come through, everything's after passport control now, certainly in terms of airports here in the UK, certainly Stansted, which is where most of there is literally a WH Smith's and a Burger King this side, and everything from Wetherspoons to sort of like giraffe restaurants and all that kind of thing, everything is all the other side, and that's where the money is, isn't it? So I think this is a really bad idea. I tell
you what, you're right there, Matt, because all the restaurants at Heathrow yesterday were absolutely rammed.
Well, yeah, because people have got nothing else to do, have they? And I mean that in the nicest way, but hopefully everybody's being really sensible. They're allowing plenty of time to get through security and all that kind of thing. We're quite often getting to the airport 3-4 hours before we need to be, because we're like literally that, let's get through security and then we'll go and get something to eat. money. If you've got a connection, obviously, because we're talking predominantly connections here, aren't they? Which is where the landing fees become very, very expensive, especially into somewhere like Heathrow. You want them arriving at Heathrow with 4 hours to kill because they're spending money.
Yeah,
and that's going to help the airport recover far faster, I feel, than throwing money. Basically, essentially taxing everyone to go into and out of the airport. And
John Yes makes a very good point in the chat room. He says that the train companies are doing a wonderful job of promoting air travel. Their prices are shocking.
Absolutely true.
Richard Evans points out that this is going up another 3.9% next year.
Yes.
And I was just talking to somebody at the airport at Edinburgh the other day, and they said, we normally get the train up from King's Cross, so it's about 4.5 hours, something like that. And I said, well, how much would you normally pay? They said, well, if we can't book it much in advance, it's the wrong side of £350-400. Well, you can fly it even on BA for 120. Okay, you've got to park the car and all the rest of it, but it's they've trying to make train travel attractive is a problem, I think, definitely. But no, I do understand both sides of the argument. I don't have an answer or a deep enough pocket to help, I'm afraid.
True. Yeah. 76,000 people work at the airport, John is saying in our ear, and they support 114,000 local jobs just at Heathrow.
Yes, and of course it's the supply chain, it's the catering, it's the maintenance, everything that goes with it. Yes, so I was a slight underestimate on my part there, but
yeah, so that was back in 2013, the figures that John is quoting to us there. So, yeah, interesting one, really, really interesting. So
I'll tell you where the money's being made now at airports.
Oh, okay, here we go. Parking?
No, no.
Yeah,
and it's not from the perfume shops where I visited yesterday for Gemma's Christmas present either. It's at the blinking PCR tests at the airport.
Okay, all right. I think we're going to move on now because that's not really a line of conversation that I'm willing to go down, frankly, mate. You should just be grateful you're there. Shut up is what I'm going to say on that one. So, okay.
Matt, you're going to stick with the UK for this one, aren't you? With two of our favourite airlines.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this story piqued my interest because it's an unusual collaboration, I felt. But I guess, well, I'll read the story, see what everybody in the chat room thinks. So the headline is EasyJet and Virgin Atlantic sign a worldwide deal. Now, again, we mentioned something similar to this a few weeks back, but nothing had sort of been firmed up here. But this is the official announcement now. UKaviation.news is the website. So budget airline EasyJet and Virgin Atlantic have signed a deal through Worldwide by EasyJet to interline passengers at Manchester, Edinburgh and Belfast airports. The deal means that passengers will be able to connect from domestic or European EasyJet flights to seamlessly connect to long-haul flights bound for the US and Caribbean from the Virgin hubs. The Juha Yavin, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at Virgin Atlantic, commented, "We're delighted to be welcoming EasyJet customers on board Virgin Atlantic flights from Manchester, Edinburgh and Belfast. We know there is a huge pent-up demand for people wanting to get away on holiday, whether to the Caribbean for a relaxing sunny break or stateside to explore their favourite cities. Thanks to this new partnership with Worldwide by EasyJet, customers from across the UK and Europe can now seamlessly connect on to Virgin Atlantic destinations, including New York, Barbados and Orlando." EasyJet launched Worldwide in 2017 at London London Gatwick, but has now rolled it out to other airports across the UK and Europe, including Edinburgh, Amsterdam, Milan and Berlin. Using Worldwide by EasyJet, a passenger would be able to fly from Jersey to Barbados, all with all baggage and transfers happening seamlessly via Manchester. A flight that would currently involve 2 separate sectors and airlines and 2 check-ins and self-transfer of luggage. Sophie Deckers, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at EasyJet, added, "At EasyJet, we're committed to making travel as easy as possible, as well as customers on their long-awaited holidays and are confident that these additions to our worldwide service will prove popular with those looking for a seamless way to connect between Europe and North America." Now, one of the main reasons why this story sort of surprised me really is because here in the UK, I mean, EasyJet is very much seen as a low-cost carrier. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I was sort of quite surprised, really, that, and like the Virgin Atlantic, shall we say, model, is not.
Well, the thing is that Virgin Atlantic have had a go at short-haul operations previously, using Irish registered aircraft, I think, for some of the UK operations. And that didn't last very long, so they need to partner with somebody else in order to do this stuff. Now, EasyJet is obviously a good airline, and it's kind of suits what they want to do, I'm sure, but I'm not sure how seamless it would all be in terms of, I'm thinking of luggage. Could you put let's say you were doing a local sector in the UK to go to Manchester, could you have your luggage checked all the way through?
I mean, that's what it says in the article.
Yes. Well, I mean, if that's a runner, then marvellous. But
so, I mean, would you essentially? This is the other question that I'm looking at. Is like, would you essentially get a question like with? Say you were going to New York, for example, so you were going to go like the route where it's suggested there, where you went from Jersey to Manchester to New York. Would that ticket that you had in your EasyJet app be a Virgin flight number? In terms of, I mean, I must admit, I'm not 100% sure how the connections side of things work. I mean, there's, John obviously would know the answer better than I would, I guess, on this one. But what information? So if you've booked it through EasyJet, what is it that you'll see in your app, essentially?
Yeah, and of course, I think there's already a lot of confusion. If you look on a typical departures board at almost any airport, you've got all this code sharing going on, and so you look at the board, and it says there are 5 flights at 10 o'clock to New York, as an example, and you go, crikey, that's quite a lot, all at the same time. And it's not until you look at the flight numbers that you realise it's actually one flight, but there are 5 different code share partners, and that is if you're not a frequent flyer, or even if you are sometimes, actually, just that business in itself can be a little confusing, I have to say. So they've got to find a smooth way of doing this stuff. But let's see. I'm all for simplicity and improving the flow of things, if it means that people can get to their destination quicker, or they have better handling of their luggage, for example. Be interesting. As I say, I mean,
EasyJet pride themselves on all the information being available in their app, things like the gate number and all that kind of thing. And that's really where my interest is like, what information is it that they're going to have? Can they do everything still through the app like you do now, like the EasyJet app, or have you got to switch apps mid?
Yes, and Jan Hubner makes a good point as well. And of course, if there's a delay on that short haul sector, bearing in mind they do do have very short turnaround times. I think we're talking 25 minutes typically on the ground to turn around an aircraft. Then, of course, you've then got a problem with the long haul sector at the other end, haven't you?
Yeah.
So. And I've been there myself previously, where I think back in the day it was British Midland and SAS that were working together to go to Scandinavia. So, yeah, it's there are traps for the unwary there, definitely.
Agreed.
But let's not diss it before it's even.
No,
launched.
indeed, it could be terribly successful for all we know. I mean, what do we know? What do we know?
Let's go back in a year's time, and we'll review it, and then we can say how good or bad it's
indeed. Now, we just had a message in our little group here. Apparently, Armando's in the chat room. He says hello. Now he sent me a picture. I assume I'm allowed to pop it up because he popped it into the show WhatsApp here, and this is quite the view. So, cool. Carlos, please describe to everyone what the picture is for those listening on the audio version and where he is.
Let me just go back to my messages. Sorry.
Very good. Yeah, seamless. Nobody will ever know. I think he's in Philadelphia, I think, is what he said.
I think the one on the right, I think they're F-18s? No. Yeah, they are F-18s. I'm pretty sure they're F-18s. Michael will probably get this completely right because I know what Micah's like with his.
Absolutely.
Designation.
Yeah.
But I think they're F-18s. Micah's probably going to pop up in a minute and just say no, they're not F-18s.
Absolutely. Where is he? So I'll just try to find.
Tony S just said there's Super Hornets.
Oh, there we go. Memphis. Sorry, he's in Memphis.
But you didn't ask me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Nev, our second military expert.
Yeah.
Nev, what are they?
Super Hornets, obviously.
Obviously, I mean, it goes without saying. Well, can't get the staff, Nev, can you? Thank you, Tony S, for that, by the way.
See, I was right, F-18s. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Micah.
Oh, right. Oh, dear. Right. Good. Well, glad. Anyway, yes, thank you for joining us very briefly, Armando. As I say, it's a happy last live show, of course. We haven't mentioned that, have we? It's our last live show of 2020. What year is it? 21, isn't it? 2021. Something like that. Yeah.
£20.50.
£20.50. There we go. Yes. Anyway, good evening, Alfie. Sorry.
Alfie, star of stage and Park Radio.
Anyway,
next story comes to us from internationalairportreview.com. And this is good. New careers platform launched to bring new talent into aviation, which is great. We like that. A new recruitment platform has launched to support aviation employers as they continue to build a workforce that's fit for the future. Funded by the Department for Transport, the DFT, and supported by industry, the Aviation Skills Retention Platform, or ASRP, has launched Talent View Aviation, or TVA, a free-to-use, all-important free-to-use platform designed to help young people in schools, colleges and universities to find opportunities to join the sector and help employers showcase apprenticeship, traineeship and graduate vacancies. The UK aviation industry is committed to building a workforce fit for future and is expected to recruit thousands of people across roles in the aviation sector in 2022, including pilots, cabin crew, technicians and support staff. Airport staff, and keeping a close eye on the future needs of the industry, employers and that are keen to encourage more young people to choose a career in the aviation and aerospace industry. And that kicks us out of the opportunity then. TVA has already received support from across the industry, including Virgin Atlantic, Flybe and the Royal Aeronautical Society. Robert Courts, MP, Aviation Minister, said the aviation sector has an exciting future ahead as it embraces the new opportunities driven by decarbonisation, innovation and future growth. He said, we are continuing to invest in future skills across this sector and are proud to back the new TVA platform. This platform will allow the sector to promote a range of roles across the aviation industry, attract young and talented individuals to exciting careers and help the industry to seize the opportunities of the future. The new TVA scheme allows employers to promote vacancies within their business to talented new recruits. Companies can search individual profiles for suitable candidates and have direct contact with students and apprentices who are actively looking for roles in aviation. Richard Smith, director of TVA and ASRP, commented, "The industry continues to plan ahead," he said, "and build up the UK aviation workforce. This includes making sure it retains its talented employees and that there are plenty of opportunities for new and upcoming talent to learn about and forge themselves a career within the industry." He said that we've launched a new platform now to enable the sector to prepare for the future recovery that we all hope to see next year in 2022. And the launch of the TVA scheme will help support the growth ambitions for the aviation industry. The new TVA recruitment platform is the newest offering from the Aviation Skills Retention Platform, also funded by the DFT. The ASRP was launched in February 2021 to support skilled people in all areas of the sector towards other job opportunities within the UK aviation industry. Not just pilots, cabin crew and flight engineers, but also individuals working in airports, air traffic handling and FBO, ground operations and MRO and more. ASRP helps talented individuals showcase their experiences and expertise while helping businesses find skills they need. For organisations, the ASRP provides direct support for both redeployment and recruitment activities, together with a framework for wider skills retention and development programs across the aviation sector. So it's good news. It's good things to get youngsters interested in the industry. And like it says in this story, which is also very important to know, it's not just the flight deck crew, pilots and cabin crew. It is the other people that help to move the industry along. The ground crews, the engineers, and all the people who have that part to play in
which goes back to the conversation earlier, doesn't it, where it's the aircraft themselves are a very small part of the operation at any airport and indeed any airline. The aircraft and the people who work directly on it are not the only people who work for an airline, of course. So it's very important that every aspect of aviation is highlighted and promoted, I think, for everyone to get involved.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you need those people as well. The ones who throw the cases into the aircraft.
Right, gently. You mean gently placing them on the belt and putting them in the buggies and things.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to the final story then.
I love this. I saw this on Twitter earlier on in the week.
Yeah, indeed. It's unusually controversial, I think, for us to go down this particular route. But I thought, hey, it's the last live of the year, so why not? Ryanair is the final story, and it's from UKAviation.news and also a few bits and pieces from Wikipedia as well, because I was looking for some other examples. But anyway, Ryanair is under fire for Twitter poke at Downing Street. So Ryanair has come under fire for making light of the coronavirus pandemic, which has not been a lot of fun for anyone in the UK and around the world, when their social media team posted an infographic comparing actual coronavirus levels to rumours about Downing Street parties. Now, if you live in the UK, you'll know exactly what I'm on about. If you don't live in the UK, Google it. That's probably the best thing to suggest. The Ryanair social media team compared the current alert level. I'm going to pop the picture up while I'm doing that. The current alert level to alert level of currently to level 4, described officially as epidemic, is in general circulation. Transmission is high, and direct COVID-19 pressure on healthcare services is widespread and substantial or rising. To the direct comparison, saying that also at level 5, so if we have risk of healthcare services being overwhelmed at level 5, full rave, everyone off their head shall we say. Jacob crying in corner, asking for nanny. It's you need to look at that. It's a very, very funny sort of thing here, I guess. Highly controversial in the UK here, because I can understand why it would cause an awful lot of offence, but we're choosing to see the funny side of it, given the stories that are running around. The level that we're at the moment, which is transmission is high or rising exponentially, and it says Boris topless asking Thatcher Portrait if she comes here often, as the similar sort of thing. It's this isn't the first time, of course, that Ryanair has got into hot water for their choice of articles and or pictures on social media. Other tweets that have got them into hot water over the last few years, more quite famously very recently, I think back in February, the UK's advertising watchdog banned Ryanair's controversial Jab and Go holiday TV campaign, saying it encouraged the public to act irresponsibly once they'd received a coronavirus vaccination shot. The campaign struck a nerve with the public, prompting 2,370 complaints to the Advertising Standard Agency, and they continued their policy of taking potshots at rival EasyJet a while back via press ads, with one of them claiming that the Zimbabwean dictator Robert Mugabe was EasyJet's new head of punctuality. Another example of this was on a live BBC News interview on the 27th of February back in 2009, when Michael O'Leary, observing that it was a quiet news day, commented that Ryanair was considering charging passengers £1 to use the loo on its flights. The story subsequently made headlines in the media for several days and drew attention to Ryanair's announcement that it was removing check-in desks from airports and replacing them with online check-in desks instead. 8 days later, O'Leary eventually admitted that it was a publicity stunt, saying it's not likely to happen, but it makes for interesting and very cheap PR. Who could disagree with that? And they also had a bit of a pop at Nev's favourite airline at one point, with another provocative ad campaign that headlined expensive BA Stards. Put that together however you wish, comparing Ryanair with British Airways, as with Sabina British Airways disagreed with the accompanying price comparisons and brought legal action against Ryanair. So long story short, they're up to their old tricks really, and having a lot of fun on Twitter. And I don't know, are people taking this too seriously, Nev? I mean, it is a bit of fun, I guess, at the end of the day.
It is, but I think you have to be, if you're going to go down this route, you also have to bear in mind the amount of distress.
Of course, yeah.
Pandemic has caused people have lost loved ones. So I think if you're going to do this kind of thing, whilst... I mean, we're just reading it out. Luckily, we're not interpreting it or generating this information. I just think you have to be a little bit careful. That's all. So, no, I like a good laugh as much as the next person does, but I think you've got to just put it in the context of what's happened over the last couple of years, really.
Indeed.
So, I'm not as enthusiastic about this as I would normally be. I would say.
I think that's fair, isn't it? It's
Tony S points out in the chat room, actually, he said, Tony S says, I kind of like Michael O'Leary. He's certainly not a boring CEO.
No, that is true. that is true. I dare say he can be. I would imagine he's probably quite a difficult person to. I wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of a tongue lashing, shall we say? Because I dare say he could be quite brutal. If ads like this get the green light, I guess. But there we go. There's John saying, has anybody seen the stuff that's been coming out of Ryanair recently? I must admit, I haven't. Other than this particular one here, lots of memes and things apparently doing the rounds currently. Trying to target Generation Z basically. So interesting. It's I suspect this won't be the last time that they put their. Sounds like a Netflix series. Yes. Interestingly enough, this probably won't be the last time that they put their foot in their mouth and get into trouble with the Advertising Standards Agency, I suspect. But yeah, actually, Nev, that is a good point there. I mean, I was having a bit of a laugh and a joke with this particular story, but you raise a very good and quite serious point, of course. I mean, I must admit, I've been very lucky. I haven't, lost anyone as a result so far of, it's had quite an impact on my life, as it has everyone, but I must admit I've been lucky and not lost anyone close to me as a result, and when you actually think about that, you think, yeah, that's probably one insensitive step too far, I think, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and it is a matter of opinion and a matter of taste as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And that's why we have a broad spectrum of opinion and taste
indeed
in the world, don't we, really? So,
indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
There
we go. Right. Okay, it's time now. We have a little bit of listener feedback, which I'm very excited to share with you. And I've lost the screen, so if somebody could remind me of what we've received here.
Yeah, we've had some audio feedback, and we love audio feedback on this show.
We do.
So. Reminder, if you want to send us audio feedback, podcast@planetalkinguk.com. But we've had some audio feedback from JJ Pittsburgh in regards to Pittsburgh, the airport there. And JJ's sent us in some audio. And Matt, if you want to hit that button, let's listen.
Okay.
Greetings, Plane Talking UK. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. I was listening to a prior episode, and Armando was talking about the Pittsburgh airport and how it's kind of outdated at this point. And I don't know if that was mentioned on the show after that, but Pittsburgh Airport did a few months ago start a renovation project, a construction project, and they're kind of streamlining the airport. Originally, it was a U.S. Airways hub, and then when that went away, and kind of September 11th killed that, the airport kind of was too big for its britches, so to speak. It had too much space, really, for a lot less air traffic. So basically, there's an airside and a landside terminal, and from what I understand, they're taking away the landside terminal and they're just making one airside terminal. So they're streamlining it, because currently when you go fly out of there, you get into the landside terminal, you take a people mover to the airside. So it looks like they're just going to combine it. I haven't read the article in a while, but they're just going to combine it to one, so you'll just go to one dedicated central terminal. So I look forward to seeing what happens. I think it might be done in a year or two. And being a rideshare driver, it'll be interesting to see how my pickups will change, like if there's a new area for pickups and all that kind of stuff. So pretty interesting. But I wanted to mention that, and it was a good opportunity for me to finally cheat on the APG and submit feedback to you guys. I love listening to you as well as the APG. I'm kind of new to listening to episodes. I haven't listened to many real-time episodes yet, but I've been going back and listening to your episodes on Spotify and on YouTube and whatnot. So really enjoy it. You're doing good work, and I will talk to you soon. Peace and love. Peace and love.
JJ.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you very much for that. That was amazing. Feel free to cheat on APG anytime you like. That's absolutely fine by us. Great fun.
And if any APG listeners want to cheat on APG, just feel free.
Now. No, we steal enough of their hosts as it is. Let's not go down that road.
I know. Plus, I'm spending tomorrow evening with Captain Jeff.
Are you right? Okay, yes. Yeah. Play nice then. Play nice. There
and he's
we go.
in the chat room.
He is indeed. Yes, royalty has arrived. He is in the chat room here. So, interestingly enough, now because Pittsburgh is something, because we flew through there, didn't we? All going to, because that's where we ended up, wasn't it? When we went to the Pittsburgh air show. I mean,
2017.
That was a while ago now, wasn't it? Blimey. Such a while ago. But anyway, yes, that's good. Well, keep us posted, JJ, please. I think it'd be much appreciated if you wouldn't mind keeping us up to date on that. Very exciting.
Great. Lovely. Oh, lovely
indeed.
Feedback.
So we're going to have a go at doing some military now.
Is that the grey stuff you were on about earlier, Matt?
That is the grey stuff that was mentioned earlier. So without Armando here, fortunately though, we have had some listeners who very kindly sent us some military feedback, but some military stories in. So thank you to Jonathan Warner and Neil Lanwarn who have sent some stories in. But if everybody's ready,
yes,
good. Here we go.
Well, the first one has been sent in very kindly by Jonathan Warner, and it's on the ukdefencejournal.org.uk, and it says that the Black Hawk helicopters are offered to UK as Puma replacement. Sikorsky is pitching Polish-built Black Hawk helicopters for the UK's new medium helicopter requirement. The S-70M was proposed in response to a request for information from the Military of Defence submitted on the 9th of December. Lockheed Martin also tweeted about the proposal. The Black Hawk helicopter's defined military design, latest gen systems, proven combat effectiveness and multi-mission capabilities make it the best choice for the UK's new medium helicopter requirement, especially when compared to aircraft originally designed for non-military civil missions. In addition, Australia has formally requested advice from the from the US government to potentially acquire as many as 40 Black Hawk helicopters amid concerns about its MRH-90 Taipan fleet. It was reported back in 2009 that defence ministers spurned 3 separate deals to buy back American Black Hawk helicopters, which would have helped to plug the dangerous shortage then facing British troops in Afghanistan. So a bit about the new helicopter programme. Well, the NMH programme will see 4 of the medium-sized helicopters currently in service across the armed forces replaced by 1 new helicopter, say the British Army. It's understood that the helicopters will be operated jointly by the Army and RAF under Joint Helicopter Command. And in a news release, it says that the announcement was made in the Defence Command paper. It will form part of the Army's programme of transformation, Future Soldier, which will deliver an army that is leaner, lighter, faster to respond and more effectively matched to current and future threats. The new medium helicopter programme will see 4 of the medium-sized helicopters currently in service across defence replaced by 1 new helicopter. This will include the Bell 212 that is used by the Army Air Corps in the jungle areas of Brunei. Work on the programme is at an early stage with effort primarily focused on developing and refining key user requirements. Details in relation to the procurement strategy, basing locations, fleet size, delivery schedule and organisational structure are all being assessed, say the Army. So there we go. Bit of procurement going on. Which is what we like.
Yeah, absolutely, and an overdue update of the fleet, perhaps someone might argue. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next story then, and it's thedebrief.org is the website this comes from, and the headline is "Unidentified aircraft causes Russian commercial flights to change course." The investigative committee of the Russian Federation announced it would be looking into the circumstances surrounding an unidentified aircraft that forced 2 Russian commercial airliners to change course over the Black Sea last Friday. This story, by the way, was sent in by Neil Lamworn. According to the local news reports, at 11:56 a.m., this is Moscow time, on the 10th of December, air traffic controllers at Sochi International Airport detected an unidentified aircraft flying 21,000 feet, roughly 30 miles off the southern Russian coast. Displaying squawk code 3203, the unidentified aircraft reportedly appeared without warning and failed to respond to air traffic controllers' requests. Russian authorities said 2 commercial flights, Ural Airlines flight U6-219 from Yekaterinburg and Aeroflot flight Su-1136 from Moscow, were instructed to adjust their flight paths to avoid any separation conflicts with the unidentified aircraft. Both airlines successfully landed at Sochi Airport without incident. Russian officials have yet to say who they believe is responsible for the unidentified aircraft. However, the Kremlin has lodged numerous complaints about NATO reconnaissance flights operating near Russia's borders in the last few weeks. On the 8th of December, the Russian Foreign Ministry filed a formal letter of protest to the US Embassy in Moscow, complaining about US and NATO surveillance flights near Russia. The US military and its NATO allies have been trying to test the security of our borders to carry out provocations against civilian aircraft, endangering the safety of airspace and human lives, wrote the Russian Foreign Ministry. A check of radar data on Flight 24 reveals the unidentified aircraft was almost assuredly a NATO, likely US surveillance plane, displaying no call sign that the unidentified aircraft appeared on radar after in-flight refueling with a US Air Force Boeing KC-135R Stratotanker over the Black Sea, roughly 80 miles north of Turkey, at approximately 11:20 a.m. Moscow time. According to the archived flight records, the aircraft then proceeded to fly several loops near the Russian coast before travelling northwest along the Crimean Peninsula up to Odessa in the Ukraine, and then back along Russia's border with the Black Sea. Shortly before the unidentified aircraft disappeared from radar near the coast of Georgia at around 2:40 p.m. local time, an Air Force Boeing RC-135U combat sent reconnaissance plane appeared in the same area over the Black Sea. The RC-135U, designed to collect technical intelligence on adversary radar systems, proceeded to fly a nearly identical flight pattern as the unidentified aircraft before heading off to land at Navy support activity Sauda Bay in Greece.
Now, hold on for just 1 minute here, right? Let's go back through this story you just read, Matt, where it says here that the Kremlin has lodged numerous complaints about NATO reconnaissance flights operating near Russia's borders. Now, how many stories have we covered in the last 11 months about Russian aircraft being intercepted by our quick reaction jets in the UK here for flying near our borders?
I dare say the correct response to this is that we can neither confirm nor deny any accusation. I think is the best way to answer that one. It's John saying in the ear that the biggest issue that Moscow's essentially having with this particular story is the fact that it was sort of essentially buzzing commercial air flights rather than sort of borders or military aircraft. I guess is potentially why they're raising a flag, if you will, to it. I don't know.
Micah sums it up in one easy sentence: they spy on us, we spy on them. It's a game. It's been going on for years.
I mean, yeah, sure. There is that. Yes.
Richard Adams, before we move on, Richard Adams in the chat room says, I expect they used to complain about Captain Nick 40 years ago.
Well, I mean, I complain about him now. So.
Well, quite. Absolutely. Yeah. Safe to say. Yeah, never mind. Okay.
Anyway, this next story, and this one comes to us from an unknown source. This is one that jumped into the news folders before we started the show.
Yes.
It's a flight from Flight Global, according to John. US Air Force hits maritime target with cruise missile launched from a C-130. Yes, you heard me right. The US Air Force has hit a target with a cruise missile launched from the ramp of a cargo C-130 aircraft for the first time as part of its Rapid Dragon program. The service deployed a cruise missile with a live warhead from the back of an MC-130J Commando 2 Special Operations transport using its Rapid Dragon palletized weapon system on the 16th of December. The test took place at the Eglin Air Force Base overwater test range above the Gulf of Mexico, the Air Force Research Laboratory says on the 16th of December. After the Rapid Dragon system, which contains cells for holding multiple cruise missiles, was dropped off the ramp, the MC-130J cargo aircraft, it deployed a parachute to slow its descent, and then a cruise missile was released from its bottom side. Immediately after the vertical release, the cruise missile deployed its wings and tail, achieved aerodynamic control, ignited its engines, and performed a powered pull-up maneuver and proceeded towards its newly assigned target. The cruise missile was successfully destroyed in its target, upon impact. That the US Air Force chose to hit a maritime target as part of its first live test fire of Rapid Dragon may indicate the service's interest in using their technology for anti-ship missions. If the US Air Force were to repel an attempted amphibious invasion of Taiwan by Chinese forces, it would need to sink a large number of ships. The service says the next step for the Rapid Dragon program will be a live fire test with a cruise missile from a Boeing C-17 Globemaster III strategic airlifter in the spring of 2022. The US Air Force also wants to try launching additional weapons and unmanned air vehicles types in future tests. Wow. I mean, you normally expect to have weapons fired from hard points on the wings or on the front of the aircraft, hard points on the aircraft, but never just slung out the back,
What was interesting for me, actually, as I say, John popped a couple of pictures in that I uploaded while we were doing that, and it's the method of delivery that's fascinating. It's essentially, I get, so these are on parachutes, aren't they? Essentially, if I go back to the first one, so they've been thrown out of the back here. They've got parachutes on the end there, and it's just, I mean, how do you presumably once it's in flight, then of course it's using its own guidance systems in order to reach its target, I guess. Because you're relying an awful lot on a parachute to get it in the right place, aren't you? Really, which
also
is not
begs the question: do they recover these cages after they've released their cruise missile? Because it's quite a lot of hardware to just spin off.
Yeah, drop into the sea or whatever it is that depending on where they're deploying them, I guess. Yeah, tricky one, isn't it? It's unusual.
It is unusual. Nev, you've got the last story, and this is another quite a good one, actually, I think.
Yeah, it's a very recent one, actually. I think this was talked about yesterday. It's on the aviationist.com, and it says that RAF's Typhoon's first air-to-air kill, a terrorist drone shot down in Syria, in what the UK Ministry of Defence called an unprecedented event. An RAF Typhoon conducted the type's first ever operational air-to-air engagement in Syria on December the 14th, 2021, just a couple of days ago. The event marked also the first RAF air-to-air missile firing during Operation Shader, the UK's contribution to the military campaign against ISIL. The kill was carried out using an advanced short-range air-to-air missile that successfully hit and destroyed a small-sized drone. The strike is an impressive demonstration of the RAF's ability to take out hostile targets in the air, which pose a threat to our forces. Excuse me, I've got some distraction going on outside, which you just will not even believe at the moment. But they say we continue to do everything we can alongside our coalition partners to stamp out the terrorist threat and protect our personnel and our partners, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said. According to the few details released so far, the drone activity was detected above the Al-Tanf coalition base in Syria. Note that the official UK MOD release referred to the base as at Tanf, but it was probably Al-Tanf, known as the Al-Tanf Garrison, a US military base within territory controlled by the Syrian opposition in Homs Governorate, located 24 kilometres west of the Al-Tanf border, crossing in the Syrian desert. As the drone continued on its track, it became clear it posed a threat to coalition forces. RAF Typhoons conducting routine patrols in swing roll, carrying both air-to-ground and air-to-air weapons in the area, were tasked to investigate and, in the end, shot down the drone. Smaller and larger drones pose a constant threat to the Al-Tanf airbase in southern Syria, close to the Jordanian border, that had served as a forward operating base for British and US special operations teams in the region.
Now, this must be the thing that sort of jumps out to me here is, I mean, I know some drones can be relatively large in size, but they ain't that big. And this
no.
sort of like, sort of taking it out in air and stuff, in the air there. I mean, that to me seems like quite an achievement to be able to lock on and hit. I mean, you'd almost half expect these missiles that are on this particular on these typhoons would be they almost wouldn't register the fact that they'd hit a drone. Do you know what I mean? Because it would almost be too small a thing for them to have hit to be like triggered. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
The impact side of things. I mean, none of us know enough about this to be able to put an answer to. I'm sure the chat room will have some answers for us in a moment. That was the thing really that sort of surprised me was how. I mean, these are very, very small things, aren't they? I mean, quite how one would then, get the response from the equipment. So Mike is saying many of these drones are actually large enough to fly me. No, don't be ridiculous. Really need to think of them more as unmanned aerial vehicles. Okay, that's fair. You could shoot a rat. You can actually shoot a rat. It's the same thing. Yeah. Okay. Fair. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What, to shoot a rat? Right, okay. You've never lived in the country, have you? You may change your mind if you live on a farm, I can assure you of that. Yes, okay. No, fair point. Yes, I'm sort of assuming that it's like the sort of drone that I have as an example, but they're probably significantly larger than that, aren't they? They're sort of basically aeroplanes, but without people in them, I guess. Yeah. Yes, good point. Yes, Tony S is saying it's not a very cost-effective way of shooting down a $100 drone, if that is the case, I suppose. True. It's good sport, though. It's good sport. Bit of practice.
Expensive sport.
Yeah, well, it's an expensive sport, but I mean, you could argue that about sort of any form of military games, though, I suppose, and it is an expensive old sport. Indeed. There we go. Anyway, that is where we bring the military to a close, and I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? We're all done and dusted.
It is pretty much it. Apart from we have got a special Christmas show coming out, haven't we?
Oh yes, yeah. It's our last live show of the year. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, we've got Christmas and New Year shows still to be released, obviously, but one more show to come this year, which is in the can. It just needs a little bit of tweaking, but that'll be released very, very shortly. And then, as I say, we've got a New Year's episode, but we're treating ourselves to a couple of weeks off, basically, over the Christmas period. But we will be back in the new year with bells and whistles on, screaming and shouting, ready to go.
Don't forget, if you haven't already put your interest in for our 400th show next year, which is on February the 26th. That's February the 26th over at the Brooklands Museum. We're holding our 400th show there. If you haven't already emailed us in, please email us in podcast@planetalkinguk.com so you can put yourselves on the guest list for that that day. We have had a very good response to our things so far from people who want to come, which is absolutely fantastic. So there's still lots of spaces left. So if you want to come and join me and all the team and some of the APG crew as well, and some of the Airplane Geeks crew as well, and possibly a few representatives from the Plane Safety podcast, you never know, and also all the some extra guests as well, some very special guests we've got hopefully lined up for the 400 as well, joining us there. Please, and Paul as well, Paul Papadimitriou,
from the layovers podcast,
is also going to be with us as well, and you can't miss Paul because he's
very
larger
tall.
than life.
He's
very tall, very tall indeed. But yeah, send us that email in to podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and we'll put you on our guest list.
Indeed, absolutely.
So Nev, where can people find us on the media of social?
Well, if you go for the socials, you'll look at the Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Just search for Plane Talking UK. You can contact us in the studio on WhatsApp, +44 757 224 9166. That's +44 757 224 9166. You can email the show, as Carlos just said, at podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and our website is www.planetalkinguk.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notifications when we go live, and you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us live in the chat room, as many people have done tonight. Go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. It's still not too late to do a bit of Christmas shopping, of course, and you can do that on Amazon by using a link on our website, and we get a small referral fee if you do that. You can also become a Patreon as well. Details of all of that is on our website, which is planetalkinguk.com.
Excellent. Well, that is it then, guys. And that is where we are going to bring episode number 394 to a close. A very big thank you to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the show. Don't forget to look out for our special Christmas show and New Year's show coming out very soon. And yeah, that's about it, guys and girls. So from me, Carlos, here in the glorious United States of America, and from Nev over in the sprawling Buckinghamshire countryside, from Matt in the PTUK Master Suite Studios, and not forgetting as well our glorious producer John, who does all the hard work
Absolutely
in his across the field position where he is in the world.
Your dad's just joined us. I just want to say that your dad has just joined us in the chat room there, just in time for you to say goodbye. That's fairly difficult. Lovely rosy cheeks, Carlos, he's saying there. There you go.
Yes, thank you, Dad. And that's also, my dad will also be at the 400 as well. So
very good.
My dad. Yeah,
indeed.
So that's it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. As again, don't forget, see you all soon. And we'll be back in the new year with more great live shows and great content. So take care, everyone. Have a great Christmas and a great New Year's. Take care and see you all soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.